Arne Slot's press conference ahead of Liverpool v Nottingham Forest. The Dutchman spoke to reporters at the AXA training centre on the eve of the Anfield clash, which sees the season resume after the November international break. On whether Liverpool are likely to bring in a centre-half in the January transfer window, ... This was one of the questions I didn't expect, talking about signings in the winter break. I think there are so many games to be played before that, and in the position we are in, it's the last thing that's on my mind. Maybe not on Richard Hughes, but it's the last thing on my mind. It's not a topic at all for me at the moment. We have, at this moment of time, 3 centre-backs, with Joe Gomez included. Of course, MAB, Ryan Gravenberch, and Wada Endo, who can play in that position. Maybe you are not aware of it yet, but we have other positions at the moment which are a bit more of an issue, on how perfect Liverpool will need to be to retain the title. I think I've said many times already that at this moment of time, we are not even thinking or talking about that. Actually, we didn't do this last season as well, when we were top of the league. It's just about the next game. I've said many times last season, and I say this season again as well. The best way to judge a league table is after 38 games. But the next best thing, in my opinion, is after 19 games. Let's see where we are then. But at this moment of time, the only focus we have is winning games of football, which actually was the same last season at this moment of time. Andy Robertson's interview after Scotland qualified for the World Cup and the squad's grieving of Diogo Jota ... We are always judged, sometimes fair, sometimes unfair. I saw the interview as well, live. I know that is an issue for us, which I think is completely normal. But in these moments of time, I always think about how much it feels for his wife and his children. Because that's so much harder for them than it is for us. But that we miss the player and the person, that is completely clear. Maybe it tells you even more. Now we play Nottingham Forest. Last season we were 1-0 down at Forest, and it only took him 1 minute to score the equalizer. So now I'm talking about the player that we miss for sure, because this time we haven't managed to come back as many times as last season after being 1-0 down, or a goal down. He definitely played his part in that last season. But that, we also miss him as a person. That is completely clear. But again, his wife and children will miss him so much more. His parents, by the way, as well, on the reminders of Jota ... I think it's good for us to remember him every time possible because of, like I said, the person and the player he was. But it's impossible to measure what it does to the players, and then to measure what it does to our results. The last thing I would do is to use it as an excuse, because simply, I don't know. What I do know is that we miss the player, that's 100% sure, and we also miss the person, but I cannot measure what impact that has on our performances, let alone on our results. That's impossible for me to say, and we will never use it as an excuse because that doesn't feel right. On the differences with Forest compared to last season ... True. 2 changes to the manager. Not one manager is the same as another one, but the playing style of Nuno Espirito Santo comes closer to the one of Sean Dyche than it comes closer to the one of Ange Postecoglou. Maybe, again, not similar, but closer. So, I think it's probably going to be a similar type of game than it was the last time we faced them. Now, with Sean Dyche taking over from Ange Postecoglou, on Liverpool's lack of early goals in games ... I am aware we mostly go 1-0 down instead of 1-0 up recently. I cannot give you an explanation for that at this moment in time. I maybe need a little bit more time to think about it, but it does have an impact on a game. I said many times, Manchester City deserved the lead in the first half completely, but it does make a big difference if you go into halftime 1-1. And when a goal is disallowed for not unreasonable reasons, and then 2 seconds later you are 2-0 down. Goals have a lot of impact on games, that's for sure. But I cannot give you an explanation why it is at this moment in time. On whether he has spoken with Dominik Szoboszlai following Hungary's disappointment in World Cup qualifying ... We did talk about it. I spoke not only with him, but also with Milos Kerkez because for the both of them it was a very big disappointment. Of course, being so close to the playoff games and then going out in the extra time, which was fair because I checked it, I was curious to see if there would have been a substitution in those 5 minutes, but I think there were 2. So the referee was right in this situation that he added some extra time. Then it is really hard that you concede, especially because on the other side you see with Robbo what it means to a country and to a player that haven't qualified for so long. The same would have been for Hungary. Of course, although playing playoff games doesn't mean you will qualify, but it gives you a chance. I asked him if there is now still a chance because I don't have a clue what is happening. Alexander Isak with Sweden. They have 1 point out of 5 or 6 games, but they still have a chance to go to the World Cup because they won Group C of the Nations League. where Hungary were in Group A, and they did not win that, so they are not involved. It's hard for him that they've actually had quite a good season, or 2 seasons with the national team, being in Group A and picking up quite a lot of points in their qualifying group, but not qualifying. It's hard, but recently at our club, he's a little bit used to disappointments, but not such a big one as this one. Maybe he will be fine. He will always work as hard as he can, and I don't expect him to do any different tomorrow. Arne Slot confirms huge double Liverpool injury blow, but Alisson Becker set to return. Alisson Becker will be back in goal for Liverpool this weekend as the Reds take on Nottingham Forest, with the Brazilian set to make his first appearance in almost 2 months. However, Florian Wirtz and Connor Bradley are both set to miss out with muscle injuries sustained during the international break. Arne Slot has confirmed that both players will be out for the weekend. Bradley could miss around 3 weeks, while Wirtz shouldn't be as long. Goalkeeper Alisson has been sidelined since September 30th when he limped off against Galatasaray in the Champions League. Georgi Mamardashvili, who arrived from Valencia in the summer, has been deputizing elsewhere. Another summer signing, Jeremy Frimpong, is still absent as he recovers from a muscle issue. 18-year-old Giovanni Leone is a long-term absentee with the ACL injury he picked up against Southampton in the League Cup earlier this season. Andy Robertson will be with us today, Slot said. Alisson trained last week and this week, so he will be able to play if things work out today. But we do have some issues after the international break. Connor Bradley is unable to play. Florian Wirtz unable to play. That is far from ideal. Alexander Isak, meanwhile, is still working his way back up to full fitness after a setback. Arriving on deadline day, Liverpool is yet to see the best of the Swede. Isak played half an hour for his country during the international break, but was not risked in the second fixture in case he picked up a booking, which would have earned him a suspension for the first leg of March's World Cup played. Fight again though. Isak is expected to be on the bench for the weekend's visit of Nottingham Forest. He could feature in matches this week against the Tricky Trees, PSV and West Ham United. This was one of the questions I didn't expect. Talking about signings in the winter break, Slot said regarding potential transfers in January. There are so many games to be played before that, and then the position we are in, it's the last thing that is on my mind. Maybe not on Richards Hughes, but it's not a topic for me at all at the moment. We have at the moment of time 3 center-backs with Joe Gomez included. Maybe Ryan Gravenberch and Wada Endo, who can play there. We have other positions there which are a bit more of an issue.